Right, so I once again welcome you all to this very special 114th session of Leadership Talk.
में इधर ही होगा, वैसे दिखेगा नहीं वीडियो क्यों
I request if all of you can mute yourself. Right, so as you know that these sessions are being organized by India International Education Council and School Lalaji Solutions. India International Education Council is a not-for-profit organization which is working in the field of education. It has collaborators from 12 countries. It aims to create a better world through education. It is building quality centers for elementary education which are approachable for all kids, finding best educational practices across the globe and find ways to implement those in Indian institutions. It is also creating more awareness on hygiene and learning disabilities. It publishes a magazine called World Education Review and many other educational reports. It aims to build 100 chapters in different cities by 2022. It will soon open its membership for institutions and individuals. It also imparts training for leaders, teachers, students, and parents. As you all know that so far we have conducted 113 sessions. We have received 11,932 registrations for those sessions. We also received 10,867 questions on national education policy. We saw the participation from 5 countries: India, USA, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Nepal. From India, we saw the participation from 21 states and 86 cities. We aim to organize 200 sessions, and with that, we would be reaching out to 100,000 educators, 20,000 institutions, and 1,000 plus eminent speakers like today's speakers would be joining us to share their perspective and ideas on national education policy. So with this, I would request you all, please join me in welcoming our key speakers for this very special session. Our first key speaker for this special session, a very senior education leader, Dhirendra Singh Ji. Dhirendra Ji is principal with Sehwag International School, Jhajjar, Haryana. He believes that our thoughts and actions create the world around us. Thoughts and action emerge from the value base of an individual, and values are formed predominantly in schools. As a teacher trainer, he has 8+ years of experience. He has also worked 5 years as a resource person with CBSE. He's also the member of board of governors of many schools. He has worked with many prestigious schools like Bhel, Shiksha Mandal Bhopal, Rashtriya Indian Military College Dehradun, Sarla Birla Academy Bangalore, Colvin Talukdas College Lucknow, Global Indian International School, the Sanskar Valley School Bhopal, among many others. We welcome you, Dhirendra sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Welcome, sir. Our next key speaker, another very senior education leader, J.K. Sahni ma'am. J.K. Sahni ji is principal with Bedi International School, Bareilly, Uttar Pradesh. She has 21 years of achievement in developing productive student-focused environments to maximize learning experiences. She's a dedicated, resourceful education professional with a proven ability to create and monitor policies and practices that promotes a safe learning environment to ensure a school culture that encourages open communication with colleagues, students, and the community. She has worked with many prestigious schools like Sacred Heart Senior Secondary School, Bareilly, Gulab Rai Montessori Senior Secondary School, Bareilly, BBL Public School, Bareilly, and Common School, which is a residential school in Dehradun. So we welcome you, Sahni ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Another key speaker, another very senior education leader, Sudha Rampal ji. Sudha ji is principal with the Guru Sharan Convent School, Pashchim Vihar, Delhi. She has worked with many prestigious schools like RD Public School, Senior Secondary School, and Richmond Global School in the leadership capacity. She has been instrumental in encouraging students to participate in exams like VVM, NTSC, and JSTSC, and organizing various workshops for teachers and students. She introduced the Microsoft 365 Karo Sambhav, which is an e-waste management program in school. She also initiated the International School Award, ISA, and have got approval for the same from British Council. She is deft at collecting and analyzing and utilizing data to identify school needs of activity-based learning. She received many prestigious awards for her contribution to the field of education, like National Teaching Excellence Award 2018. She also received another appreciation certificate in the Rashtra Nirmata Shikshak Samman Samaro 2018. We welcome you, Sudha ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome, ma'am. Our next key speaker, Vishakha Gupta ji. Vishakha ji is principal with Beacon High School, Pune, Maharashtra. She's a passionate educationist with decades of experience. She has been awarded and recognized for her contribution to the field of education many times. We welcome you, Vishakha ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Our next key speaker, Manisha Soni ji. Manisha ji is principal with Archie's Higher Secondary School, Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh. Manisha ji has an MSc Computer Science. She also did GNIT from Hyderabad. She has been working in the field of education for last 21 years. She is a very active member with KSS, Kanpur Sahodaya School Complex. We welcome you, Manisha ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Welcome, ma'am. Our next key speaker, Dr. Deepika Yadav ji. Dr. Deepika is assistant professor with SRM University, Haryana. She has been awarded doctorate degree on the topic of optimal operation and scheduling of hydropower plant at NIT Hanipur. She has presented her work at national and international levels. She has reviewed various papers for international journals such as Elsewhere Journal of Renewable, Elsewhere Journal of Renewable and Sustainable Energy Reviews. She's a life member of ISTE. She has more than 8.5 years of teaching experience in various institutions. She's also worked with Adam Science and Technology University, Ethiopia. Her research area is soft computing techniques, application in power system and renewable energy. We welcome you, Dr. Deepika Yadav ji. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome. Our next key speaker, Mr. Sunil Dangi. Sunil Dangi ji is co-founder and CEO of eMango Solutions. He's an IIT graduate from IIT Kanpur. He's having master's degree in mathematics and scientific computing. He's an actuary and also a member with Institute of Actuary, United Kingdom. He has worked with ICICI Prudential, HSBC, and Financial Risk Advisor at Ernst & Young. He's an entrepreneur for the last 6 years in telecom, food, and education sector. He has been doing research along with his co-founder, Mr. Nitin Nagpal, who is with us today on career counseling for the last 2 years. Based on that research, Nitin ji and Sunil ji have come up with a wonderful product called eMango, which is a digital career counseling platform. So we welcome you, Nitin Nagpal ji. Thank you for joining. And our last key speaker for this very special session, Mr. Jitin Chako. Jitin ji is a manager with the Fatado School of Music. Jitin, working with Fatado School of Music, which is India's largest music educator. It is a brand which is synonym to music in our country. It has a 150-year-old rich legacy. It has been working with 200 plus leading schools of India. It has trained over 1 lakh students. It owns many renowned titles like Bandit, which is India's largest school-level music competition to promote music talents across all schools. Other titles are like Piano Concert, Cadence, workshops, high jump training, FSM exams, in-center recital, FSM recital. It enjoys partnerships with the renowned institutions like Berklee College of Music and NMIMS School of Performing Arts. So we welcome you, Jitin. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, Raju.
So now I would request all our key speakers if we can have your opening remark before I come to you for your main talk. So I would request Dhirendra sir, if we can begin with you, if I may request you for your quick 1-minute opening remark. Dhirendra sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to be part of this gathering. Actually, I missed initial few minutes of your introductory, whatever introduction you provided to the session. But what I understand is that we are primarily discussing about the national education policy, and probably we are trying to figure out what is the roadmap and how we create some kind of action plan, which is a scalable and which can be converted into reality. So just to begin with, see, after a gap of 34 years, we have got a new plan, and on paper, this plan seems to be absolutely perfect. And the best thing which I like about it is that there is a lot of emphasis on the early childhood care and education, ECCE. That is one major thing, because the values, the emotional quotient, and the civic sense, all these things develop primarily by that age, and somewhere this was neglected. So when there is a lot of thrust on the ECCE, I am sure that the values which you talked about from my profile, The foundation for those values would be laid in the early years. The second thing which I liked in this policy was about teachers' education. There is a lot of thrust because whatever changes we want in this segment, the teacher who is working at the grassroots level, he's the one who has to change. So there is a lot of emphasis on teacher education. And then there is a periodic review of the things. That is very, very important because review will give us, will refine our direction to progress ahead. I think these are a couple of points which I have picked up from this new policy, and everything is good. But to me, these two things makes most impact. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We are very excited to hear your ideas on these points. And absolutely, we are trying to, create a roadmap in collaboration. Eventually, we would be compiling all the thoughts into a document, and we would be presenting the document to the Ministry of Education and other stakeholders in country. So thank you, sir, for joining, and I'll be coming back to you for your detailed interpretation. Now, with this, I would request our, J.K. Sahni ma'am, if I can request you, you missed, we had prepared a wonderful introduction of yours, but now I would request you if we can have your quick 1-minute opening remark, Sahni ma'am. You are on mute, ma'am.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are audible, ma'am.
Okay. So indeed, it's a privilege to be here, to be a part of this leadership talk. And as we are all here, gathered here to decode this new education policy 2020, which has been the hot talk in the education scenario. And many good things we can see coming up, especially what I've really liked is, though I'll be speaking, of course, when my turn would be there. That is the promotion which has been given to the regional languages, that a child can pick up not only Hindi or English as primarily it has been going around in our nation. He can pick up any regional language, and that can be the medium of instruction. Then, of course, a lot of emphasis is there on the holistic learning, teachers' training, and making them the capable educators and the leaders in the true sense. And then, of course, lots of emphasis, as Sir just said, is there on the preschooling. Anganwadi concept is there. And, of course, the preschooling normally, which was not much emphasized upon earlier, now we see it is really emphasized upon. And then, of course, one very major thing which we see is that is the diversity which is being provided in the selection of the streams. Because earlier there was, the confined range was there, amidst which the children could make the selection of the subjects. So now it is really diversified and very wide from where the child can just choose upon. So we do look forward to its implementation in the true sense, and definitely to be a fruitful presentation, I would say. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Absolutely, this NEP has opened a lot of doors. In fact, many educators who participated in our previous sessions, they said, till now, this NEP has given us an opportunity to explore with ideas, with new thoughts. And now we can expect the support from all quarters, like parents, teachers, with the help of this policy. So let's see how it goes. We'll be coming back to you, ma'am. Thank you for joining. Now I would request, thank you, ma'am. I would request Sudha Rampalji. Sudha, ma'am, your opening remark.
Okay, a very good afternoon to one and all present here. I'm Sudha Rampal, Principal, Guru Sharan Convent, New Delhi. It's my proud privilege to share a platform with the esteemed educators. The new education policy has been prepared under the able leadership of Education Minister Shri Ramesh Pokhriyal by C. Kasturi Ranjan Samiti. The chairman of the new education policy is Dr. K. Kasturi Ranjan. The first education policy came up in the year 1968 and the second came up in 1986. Now, after a long gap of 34 long years, the long-awaited new education policy has come up. The consultation process of this new education policy 2020 continued from 26th January 2019 to 31st October 2019. 6% of GDP will be spent by the union government on the new education policy. National Curriculum Framework will be prepared by NCERT. An important reform in the new Education Policy 2020 is that 10+2 system has been dropped and has been replaced by 5+3+3+4 schooling system of schooling. Now, 5+3+3+4 system has been divided into 4 stages. The first stage is fundamental stage, the second preparatory stage, the third is middle school stage, and the fourth one is high school stage. 360-degree assessment will be done in the final report card. The result of not only quantitative assessment, but also qualitative assessment of the student will be recorded. There will be no stream system, unlike the current system. A student will have the liberty to choose any subjects of any stream of his or her own interest. For instance, a student will be allowed to take a combination of accounts, history, and physics. MPhil has been abolished.
Ma'am, Sudha ma'am, this was
Yeah, now we can move on to the next person so that I'll be discussing it later.
Yeah. Thank you. I will be coming back to you for your detailed interpretation. So
Yeah.
now, thank you for that. I'll be coming back to you. Now, I would request our next speaker, Vishakha Gupta ji. Vishakha ma'am, can we have your 1-minute opening remark? Vishakha ma'am, you are on mute, I believe.
Yeah, hello. Am I audible now?
You are audible now, ma'am.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to the esteemed gallery of sirs who have gathered here for this wonderful discussion on today's NEP. When I talk about the NEP, there are 2 things that come in mind. First of all, we need to understand that NEP is a very progressive and a revolutionary document, which has come after 36 years. It is a document that describes the government's intent. It is a document describing the intention. It is not the detailed plan of implementation. It is not an implementation plan. It is the intent plan. The implementation plan will gradually follow. How CBSE will implement it and how the NCERT will implement it and the various government bodies. So as my the co-speakers have very rightly said that the early childhood has been divided and the formula is 3+3+4. Pre-primary education, we need to understand now, has come under the ambit of formal education. Initially, there was no record or no formal education as a pre-primary education. There were various formats, there were various programs that were followed, but now it will come under the formal education pattern, which is, I think, a very good move. Syllabus has been reduced to the core essentials. So rote learning, the government, the document is trying to work with, do away with rote learning. Then it will make space for critical thinking, holistic development. When I say holistic development, I mean the inquiry-based, the analysis-based, the discovery-based, and the discussion-based learning. Focus will be on the key concepts, which will bring in more interaction in the teaching learning process. There'll be more collaboration to explore and learn, because experiential learning has been stressed upon.
Right, ma'am.
Again, there will be multiple, entry and exit points, and the emphasis.
It was an opening remark, ma'am. I would request if you can confine. I'll be coming back to you for detailed interpretation.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I would just end it by that the entry and exit level will be emphasized upon, and basic emphasis will be on how to learn. When I talk about this in detail, I will talk about it, but these were my pointers about, why
Right.
I found the NEP as a very progressive and a futuristic document.
Absolutely. We all agree with you that, like what Dhirendra sir said, as we look at the document, we find it absolutely progressive and, full of potential. Thank you, ma'am. I'll be coming back to you. Now I would request Manisha Soni, ma'am, if we can have your quick, 1-minute opening remark. Now 1 minute is under the inverted commas.
A very good afternoon to all the eminent speakers here. as we all are here for decoding the NEP, the pointers that I have selected is the online digital education. During this pandemic, we had to switch over from the classroom teaching to online teaching. And this is what the NEP also says. In future, it wants the education to be quality education and a fully digital education. So I'll be talking on this, which I found to be very interesting, because the future is going to be online and digital education. Thank you so
Absolutely,
much.
absolutely. We all have our agreement with you, ma'am. We have already entered into that era. This pandemic has also exposed the uneven distribution of digital infrastructure. Yesterday only I was just going through a report that says like India, we have just 24% of people have the smartphone. 12% household, who have students in their homes have access to internet. That says, let's say 24 students have the access to internet. So there are 76% students who did not get the access to these online classes during this pandemic. So I'm sure we will learn more from you people about it. So thank you for that. Now I'll request our next key speaker, Dr. Deepika Yadav ji, for your quick 1-minute opening remark. Deepika ji, do we have your presence?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So just a minute. So thank you so much, sir, for giving me opportunity to be part of this panel discussion. I'm Dr. Deepika, and I'm heading electrical department at SRM University, Sonipat. So as I'm from SRM University, so I'll be discussing about the choice-based credit system curriculum that we have adopted.
Right.
So my voice is audible, sir.
We are missing in between. Right. So we've got your point that you're going to talk about choice-based credit system.
Yes,
which
yes,
has been
yeah.
Thank
And,
you, Dr. Yadav.
Okay, over to you, sir. Okay,
Now
sir.
I would request Mr. Nitin Nagpal. Nitin ji, if we can have your quick opening remark.
Thank you, Rajulji, and thanks all the distinguished, esteemed panelists for taking out your precious time to add whatever little value we can for this wonderful cause. During the last 30 years, all the educationists and teachers have learned certain ways to teach the students and assess them. Now, new education policy has made sure that we unlearn most part of it and learn the new ways of teaching our students and assessing them. This is my expectation and hope from the new education policy. Thank you, Rajul. Over to you.
Thank you, Nitin, for that. I would request Mr. Jitin Chako. Jitin, if we can have your opening remark. I believe Jitin has lost the connection. So with this, we come to the next part of this session, which is the main talk session. I'll be inviting all our key speakers for your detailed interpretation. But before I invite our first speaker, I just would like to share the learnings which we have had during our last 113 sessions. During our last these 100+ sessions, almost every participant shared that this is a wonderful document. This National Education Policy has a potential to place India at that coveted position of Vishwa Gyan Guru. But at the same time, almost every participant shared that this is going to be very, very difficult to execute. It is that good document. A lot of people share that teachers training is an area of concern. Many people share that finance is the chief area of concern, the lack of finance in the sector. A lot of educators also share that this document is not talking about the autonomy for private institutions. This is one area where this document fails, to suggest a roadmap for future. Many educators also shared that good schools in urban areas already implementing these ideas in their respective schools. Biggest challenge would be for the rural school budget urban schools. So I would request all our speakers that while sharing your interpretation on national education policy, if you can also suggest one or two ideas or some, suggestions based upon your own experience, which we all can try to execute in our respective domain, that would make this session more impactful and, practically useful for all of us. So now, before I invite our first speaker, I would request again all of the speakers if we can, constrain our thoughts in that time limit so that we have sufficient time in the end for the questions. So 8 to 10 minutes is the time limit. So I would again request all the speakers, to maintain the time limit. So with this, I would request the first key speaker, Dhirendra sir. Dhirendra sir, over to you. Your interpretation on national education policy.
Hello, good afternoon once again. See, my interpretation primarily, to me, two things makes a complete differentiator in the current policy. One is about the ECCE, and the second thing is about child education. Everything else is also important because there is a shift in the way assessments would be conducted, the 21st century skills, so on and so forth. But the base of all that is set by the age of 5 years, max to max, let's say 8 years. So if we can somehow lay the best foundation in the early years of education, I think we would have created that bare necessity which is required to build up the magnificent building or the structure which we want to create. So in the current policy, if we compare two things, one is that in the current policy, the admission age of children is brought down to 3 years, which was earlier 6 to 14 in RTE. Now it is 3 years to 18 years. That is one very, very important thing. The second thing is that the Anganwadis and the Bal Vatikas, which were more or less not that kind of mainstream education helping sources. The thrust is shifting there that we need to create professional team of Anganwadis worker. They need to be trained. There is a qualification criteria. There is a training infrastructure which would be placed so that as we are growing in a society, because of technology, our growth acceleration, the way we interact with each other, everything is changing, and so is the need of the child at that age bracket. So a continuous training would be required. That is very positive thing in this policy. There is one catch which I see in the current policy is that the curriculum is under the MHRD, whereas the implementation part is distributed in the three ministries. Ministry of Women and Child Development, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and the Tribal Affairs Ministry. Now, this is going to be a little catchy situation because when policy is drafted with one and then the implementation responsibility is distributed. Earlier also this has created problem, and I see a very valid reason that these issues may crop up. So whatever action plan is made, we need to plug up all those gaps which existed earlier, and so that there is a seamless transition of the implementation process which takes place. That is one main thing which we have to take care in ECCE. And the next part is the teachers' education. The other things have been taken up by some other speakers. I'm sure they will take it up, but to me, whatever changes which we wish to see in our education system, it is just possible, or it will be possible only by the quality of the teachers. And therefore, we need to ensure that good people enter into the teaching profession. We say teacher guru hota hai aur hum duniya bhar ki baatein karte hain, lekin kahin na kahin we are somewhere, because of political compulsions, and a lot of private schools are coming up, and the uniformity of the quality, that is not same across all the sectors. All right, when you visit private schools, there are schools who are genuinely interested in grooming and nurturing the child in the best possible way. And there is equally a good number of institutions where things are there, but they will not be used. Just to give you an example, science lab is there, but students will not be taken to the science lab. I'm talking of classes 11th and 12th. All right. But the lab will be open only on the last day. However, practical files, everything will be prepared. Child will be tested, marks will be awarded, but the child does not have any idea how to use the instrument. So all that lab, everything existed to take the affiliation from the board to complete the regulatory process. But somewhere the management feels that, okay, if we allow children to use this equipment, probably it would be damaged. So it is better to keep them under lock and key. Bring it out on the day when the examination is there, and somehow things are managed. We all know all these things. This kind of culture needs to change. And I know that I am touching a very serious high voltage chord, but it's a fact which we cannot ignore. So we need to bring in a change in mindset of the people who are involved into the education, because it is not merely a business proposition where we need to create profit. Yes, we need to sustain ourselves, but we have taken a cause which is a noble cause. My action is going to create a society of the future. And if I take shortcut, if students are not prepared for that future, then I am playing with the lives of all these students who are passing through my hands. So one is a correction required at the level of management, and then teachers also. Many a times when you interview, I have heard from people, okay, teaching, why you want to come into the teaching profession? It is just 6 घंटे का है, छुट्टियां बहुत मिलती हैं, इसलिए हस्बैंड ने बोला है कि अच्छा किसी स्कूल को ज्वाइन कर लो. Now, if people come with that mindset that your workload is less and छुट्टियां बहुत मिलती हैं, तो घर और ये दोनों हैंडल हो सकता है easily. That's why you are into this profession. Then you are again not doing justice with the children whom you are tutoring. This kind of mindset needs to change, and therefore, people who are coming from B.Ed colleges, they need to be well trained. B.Ed colleges, again, it's a very different game. There are different types of colleges which exist in the market, and we have seen very different caliber of students coming out of these B.Ed colleges. All right, so we need to create that sensitive crowd. Somewhere people who are coming into teaching profession, they should be warrior for this cause, because you are creating a life. So that is one important thing which teachers, education colleges must take care of. Somewhere this CTET and at whatever other teacher eligibility tests which are conducted, all that is fine. But on paper, people are one way. But when you look at reality, the picture is completely different. All right. So somewhere we have to evolve some system where we can gauge the actual personality of the teacher. Like in the army selection, in the defense sector, we have got SSB. Now it's a very expensive recruitment system, but it is one of the foolproof recruitment. You know the candidate inside out in 5 days when he's staying there at the SSB. Maybe we can evolve some kind of system where we can gauge the personality of the teacher, because on paper, all of us are so good, ideal. All right, it is just like creating an ideal Facebook identity, but reality is very different. So somewhere we need to create that kind of system where we can filter out the right candidate. The other issue which happens many times, especially when it is the election time, the government will say, okay, we will recruit 10,000 teachers or we will recruit 40,000 teachers. भर्ती रैली चलती है, शिक्षक भर्ती रैली. अब वो शिक्षक भर्ती रैली जब शुरू होती है, तो आप क्या करते हैं उसमें, है ना? वो भी हम लोग देखते हैं ना, लोग पॉलिटिकल कनेक्शन यहाँ से वहां से निकालते हैं. 40,000 टीचर की भर्ती करना, इज इट अ जोक? And all that has to be completed in a time span of 5 months, 6 months. Why can't it be a gradual? thing. All right, that every year we will recruit whatever number depending on the requirement of the state or the some streamlining should be done. Education should not be used, as you said, कि election manifesto में सब कुछ होता है ना. हमें election manifesto, education जो है वो सबसे नीचे की तरफ होता है. इसको हमें ऊपर लाना होगा अगर हम सोसाइटी को चेंज करना चाहते हैं. इफ वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट आत्मनिर्भर भारत, इफ वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट भारत टू बिकम अ विश्व गुरु, all that is possible only by changing the education system, and that too also particularly in the school level, because by the time child is moving out, his personality is more or less framed. All right, now you can just fine tune it little bit, but basic structure is not going to change. Whatever I am today, and I'm sure that it applies to each one of us who is part of this gathering, आज हम अपने जीवन में जो भी कुछ कर रहे हैं, स्पेशली लाइफ स्किल से रिलेटेड, वो सब कुछ स्कूल से मिला हुआ है हमें. हमारा कॉलेज और यूनिवर्सिटी एजुकेशन वहाँ पे उतना हेल्प नहीं करता है जितना कि जो वैल्यूज हमने स्कूल में इम्बाइब करी थी वो हेल्प कर रही हैं. It is that strong. So I believe that teacher education should be taken care properly. There has to be some system, all right, with artificial intelligence and virtual reality. I think the kind of test which I am suggesting, which is similar to SSB and all, those can be created, which can gauge the personality of the mindset of the teacher inside out. All right, that will create good quality teachers. Then continuous training is required, and I'm glad that there is a lot of budgetary support which has been proposed in last couple of years, because government is realizing that unless we train the teachers on a continuous basis, things are not going to change. So that is a very positive side which I look at. And the other thing which I would like to include is that I think it was Mrs. Sudha Rampal or somebody said that there is no difference between a curricular or a co-curricular or extracurricular activities. I'm glad that now we are realizing that whether it is a subject like physics, chemistry, mathematics, or it is an art subject, or it's something related to sports, everything is inclusive. I cannot, अगर आज मैं बोलूं कि ये किसान की समस्या जो चल रही है अभी हमारे देश में 2 महीने से, ये कौन से विषय की है? All right, now everybody will have a different answer. Somebody will say it belongs to agriculture science. Somebody will say no, it belongs to economics. Somebody will say it is related to marketing. Somebody will say no, ये political problem है. So Kisan problem is not we cannot say that it is one problem. All right, it is mix of everything. So is the case with our life. Our life cannot be compartmentalized into physics, chemistry, or subject specific. मेरा हाथ अंग्रेजी है और सर जो है वो हिंदी का है और दिल जो है वो biology है. It is not like that. We learn so much from arts and sports. All right, and if these areas are brought equivalent to the subjects, so-called main subjects, and I am a physics teacher, I used to feel very happy. Physics, okay, light class. Sports, not so. I'm glad that now it is all leveled up, and once it is leveled up, probably it will take little time क्योंकि हमारी सोसाइटी में ये सब इंफॉर्मेशन पहुंचने और डाइजेस्ट होने में कुछ वक्त लगता है ना. पेरेंट्स की अभी भी वही है कि बच्चा 99% 100% लेके आए. वो ट्रेंड चेंज होने में कुछ वक्त लगेगा, और हम देख रहे हैं कि वो जो 99-100% लेके आए थे वो जीवन में कुछ बहुत अच्छा नहीं कर रहे हैं. सो आई एम श्योर दैट द वे especially with organizations like you and government organization, the way this policy is being discussed in public domain, the percolation of this information in its right spirit will happen at the earliest. Thank you for giving me this time to share my thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dhirendra sir, for sharing these wonderful thoughts. We all agree with you. You talked about the positive highlights from the policy, be it the age flexibility. You also you mainly focus upon teachers training, and it's the root of many problems. You talked about that why we need a more robust teachers recruitment system. You also cited the example of SSB. You talked about that we need more motivated and empowered teachers. We always say that the students are the future of any nation, and teachers are the creator of that future. So we need to focus upon those creators. We need to focus upon their recruitment training and their motivation part. You also talked about the lack of intent among most of the teachers we have, and I believe that most of the educators agree with you, sir. Everyone believe that, and we all know that the teachers are the soul of any institution. But we all, many of the educators also accept that most of the teachers are into teaching profession not because this was their first choice, because of various other reasons. So that needs to be changed. We need to make teaching as an aspirational job among the youth, among the children, and for that to happen, we need to change a lot of other things, be it the monetary part, be it the social respect and social structure, other things. So thank you, Dhirendra sir. I'll be coming back to you with questions. Thank you for sharing these wonderful thoughts.
Thank you.
Now I would request J.K. Sahani ma'am, if we can have your interpretation. J.K. Sahani ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. And we are here, as sir has, of course, very nicely expressed. Rain sir was just speaking on it. So I would just like to add on to it. As we are here to decode the NEP, which has been, talked about so much during this session, and especially as an add-on, we also had a lockdown situation as well. So there were so many apprehensions and all that how this is really actually going to be implemented. So as I just go on to speak on it, I would say that whatever good we see in our world today is because of an educative mind behind it. I truly agree to it. And as we know that it's taken almost 36 years that this new education policy has come up. And lately there has been much talk about that the education policy in India needs some changes, the education scenario. There are certain things which are not good about it. And there have been so many suggestions, but it's taken some time for the implementation. But as we know that the Union Cabinet in July 2020, it approved the new education policy, which we are of course addressing as NEP, which aims at universalization of education from preschool to secondary level. And as we know that our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi ji, he also renamed the Ministry of Human Resource and Development as the Ministry of Education. And education policy, it lays particular emphasis on the development of the creative potential of each individual. This is what we need to understand. The purpose of the education system is to develop good human beings, we all know that, which are capable of rational thought and action, who possess compassion and empathy, courage and resilience, scientific temper, and creative imagination with sound ethical moorings and values. It aims at producing engaged, productive, and contributing citizens for building an equitable, inclusive, and plural society as envisaged by our Constitution. So this is just a brief definition, though as we know that education is such a broad concept, it's very difficult to define it into few words. But still, precisely this is how Constitution goes about it. And when we talk about the NEP, before I actually go on, because I would be especially talking about the artificial intelligence that we have really incorporated into this NEP. But before that, the key points which we have of NEP, I would definitely like to touch upon that. As we know that the main thing, the key point which I would say is universalization of education from preschool to secondary level with 100% gross enrollment ratio in school education by 2020. That is the major aim of NEP. The current 10+2 system is to be replaced by 5+3+3+4 curricular structure, which is corresponding to ages of 3 to 8, then 8 to 11, then 11 to 14, and then 14 to 18 years respectively. It has also brought the uncovered age group of 3 to 6 years under school curriculum, as we know that this is now a part of the formal education. Otherwise, the pre-primary was not earlier on proper records, but now it comes into the formal education. It will be properly on records. It will also have 12 years of schooling with 3 years of Anganwadi. That is what we call the preschooling. Then class 10th and 12th board examinations would be made easier. It would test the core competencies rather than the memorized facts. That is, of course, as we have already heard about it, that the rote learning is to be not given the promotion, but rather it is the core competencies are to be given the emphasis. There would be a no rigid separation between the academic streams, extracurricular, vocational streams in schools. Vocational education will start from class 6 onwards with internships, teaching up to at least grade 5 will be in the mother tongue or the regional language. These were some of the key points of our NEP, and the best part of this national education policy, according to me, which is to be implemented, I would say is, though each part of this policy is praiseworthy, but the best part of NEP is the mandatory coding teachings from class 6 onwards. As seeing the trend of the present times, computer science, as we know, its demand is at the peak and is eventually increasing day by day. And there are certain reasons for that. Primarily, the reasons for these are, it encourages kids to think outside the box. That is very important, that they're not to just be confined into a particular domain. And of course, as we know, that the rote learning is to be discouraged. That is one thing. So they have to be taught to think out of the box. That is very important. Then use of mathematics in real life problems. This is basically going to be a key feature of the coding, because coding will help your child in their math subject. So it's a boon for the academics too. It will also teach the child to learn how things work and create things that actually work. They will learn to persist if what they are creating is not working. They would also learn the algorithmic thinking. It would also increase the logical thinking. That is, of course, there. Then it would enhance one's thinking ability and make them more vulnerable to problem solving. Because talking about this coding, which the children have to be taught, so the next concept which is associated with it is the problem solving. We have to make the children more capable of tackling the problems. That is very important, integral of it. Then a child is to be taught to expand his creativity, and this will happen when they will learn how to code. It will also gradually increase your child's selection of future jobs. Lots of career opportunities in various sectors will come up in the future. These are some of the key points which we expect from NEP. With the government naming coding as a 21st century skill, the NEP 2020 aims to teach students coding from class 6 and to help them to understand what skills actually are at a very early age. Otherwise, what was happening was that what exactly the skills are, what a child is actually going to choose as his career, what is he going to do after 10+2. This all was a thought process which would start when the child would be, either coming in 10th class, or for certain students who would say they would not think about anything till they've actually passed out their 12th class. So now this thinking process has been initiated through this NEP at a very early stage. Just related to that, the concept which comes is of the artificial intelligence, which we know is going to be a game changer in the educational scenario. Now, what are the thrust points which this artificial intelligence is going to bring about? I would just like to touch upon them very quickly. First, it would personalize education. Artificial intelligence, it helps find out what a student does and what a student does not know. It builds a personalized study schedule for each learner, considering the knowledge gaps in such a way it tailors the studies according to the student's specific needs and their efficiency. So, in other words, what we are just trying to say is that this artificial intelligence is tailoring the education according to an individual child. Next, it ensures access to education for students with special needs, because this I would definitely like to emphasize that our NEP, it definitely focuses on the students with special needs. The adoption of innovative artificial intelligence technologies, it opens up new ways of interacting for students with learning disability. It grants access to education for students with special needs, whether they are deaf and hard of hearing, they are visually impaired, or they are people with any other physical handicap. So these are to be given consideration. They are not going to be put up in any special school. In fact, even the normal schools are supposed to take children with special needs and provide all the facilities for them. So this is also which is being emphasized by NEP. Then the students, they could get also some additional support from artificial intelligence tutors, while there are obviously things that human tutors can offer which the machines cannot. But in the future, we see more students being tutors by tutors that only exist in zeros and ones. Some tutoring programs based on artificial intelligence, they are already existing, and they can help students through basic mathematics, writing, and any other subject as well. Then education is possible at any time. Young people, they spend a lot of time on the go. They prefer doing their everyday tasks using their smartphones or tablets. Artificial intelligence based applications provide an opportunity to study in free time, spending 10 or 15 minutes. Additionally, the students can get feedback from tutors in the real time mode as well. Then there are various options which are available according to the student's need. Artificial intelligence based solutions can adapt due to the student's level of knowledge, interesting topics, and so on. The system helps to help the students with their weak sides. It offers learning materials based on their weaknesses. For example, the student does the test before starting to use the app. The app analyzes it and provides suitable tasks and courses. Now, during this, time of this lockdown, when we were just all, facing all the problems coming due to this pandemic, there are many apps which have come into use, which very aptly describe the use of artificial intelligence. Like to talk about our labs, as I would say, because since the schools were shut down, and how to go about conducting the practicals for the students. So we had the OLAB app was there, through which the various all the options, we could have all these experiments done. The students could do it. Then we have this Diksha app, which was launched by CBSE. It also came to the help, and it is also a very good example how artificial intelligence is being used for the students, and how we foresee that NEP is going to bring about more prospects, and we are going to use it more aptly. Then even recently, there is an app which is Ku app, which has been developed by the IT students only, and it got developed very recently. That was back in March 2020. And this app, which got launched, it is also won Atmanirbhar Challenge, which was put up by the Indian government to promote such ventures, in which we could have more of such apps coming up for the students. So we see that all these things going about, we really look forward to, I would say, a change in the education. And
Right.
the NEP is going about, and we all have all our apprehensions that how exactly it is going to be implemented. Is it only on the paper? What will be the practical problems? How the implementation would actually come up? So I know all those apprehensions are there, but still
Right.
we very optimistic. And I, as an academician, feel that instead of thinking about that what wrong can happen, we should think on the positive side, and in the true spirit, we should try our best to implement it fully. That's all I would like to say to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sani ma'am, you talked about in a very strong way how this NEP is going to change our entire education ecosystem. We talked about various new initiatives which NEP is focusing upon, like be it coding or its thrust on artificial intelligence based solutions. You talked about that NEP offers more inclusivity. It suggests many ways how we can reach out, how we can expand the reach of education to those excluded learners. You also talked about that how NEP has a potential to change this and conventional rote learning based system to competency based system, where we can impart those 21st age skills among our learners like critical skill, creativity, problem solving. You also said you shared your assessment that NEP has a potential eventually to challenge the traditional or conventional education system which has a lot of I would say limitations with it. So thank you, Sahani ma'am, for sharing all these wonderful points. We'll be coming back to you with questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My pleasure.
Now, with this, I would request Sudha Rampal ma'am. Sudha ma'am, over to you. Your interpretation.
Okay, I'll be presenting. I'll be sharing the screen.
Yes, ma'am, we can see your screen.
Okay. Okay, I'll take you through a part of the new education policy as it's quite a long document and we have time constraints. So let's go through it. The vision of the new education policy. It's an education system that contributes to an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all. It develops a deep sense of respect towards the fundamental rights, duties, and constitutional values bonding with one's country, and a conscious awareness of one's role and responsibilities in a changing world. It instills skills, values, dispositions that support responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development and living, and global well-being, thereby reflecting a truly global citizen. Talking about the key principles of NEP, NEP aims at respecting diversity of local context in all curriculum, pedagogy, and policy. Equity and inclusion will be the cornerstone of all educational decisions. Students will be encouraged and facilitated for philanthropic, private, and community participation. Technology will be used in teaching, learning, removing language barriers for the young students, and educational planning and management. Emphasis will be laid on conceptual understanding rather than rote learning and learning for exams. Unique capabilities will be recognized, identified in each student. Stress will be laid on critical thinking and creativity. Students will be encouraged to develop logic, decision-making, and innovation. Continuous review will be made based on sustained research and regular assessment by educational experts. Accessibility to early childhood care and education will become universal. For children of 3 to 6 years, access to free, safe, high quality early childhood care and education will be provided in Anganwadis, preschools, and Bal Vatikas. Foundational learning curriculum will be for age group 3 to 8. It is divided into two parts. First, from age 3 to 6 in early childhood care and education, and second, age 6 to 8 in class 1 and 2 in primary school. Multifaceted learning will be encouraged. Flexible, multi-level, play-based, activity-based, and inquiry-based learning will be promoted. Prior to the age of 5, every child will move to a preparatory class or Bal Vatika, that is before class 1. Implementation will be jointly carried out by Education Ministry, Women and Child Development, Health and Family Welfare, and the Tribal Affairs. Government will ensure universal access to education at all levels. Multiple pathways will be used for learning, involving both formal and informal education modes. Governments and non-governmental philanthropic organizations will be promoted to build schools. Focus will be on achieving desired learning outcomes at all levels. NEP aims to bring dropout children back to school. Alternative and innovative education centers will be opened. Peer tutoring will be encouraged. This will be suitable for categories business and personal presentation. Expected outcomes of NEP are universalization of access from early childhood care and education to secondary education, to ensure equity and inclusion, to bring back 2 crore out of school children, to attain sustainable development goals of retaining all children in schools until completion of secondary education, to improve quality and achievement of learning outcomes, foundational literacy and numeracy, to focus on 21st century skills in teaching, learning, and assessment, to resource share school complexes, to have effective governance, separation of powers and common norms, to overcome the language barrier in learning, to have common standards for public and private school education. The new pedagogical and curricular structure of school education will be 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, 3 years in Anganwadi preschool and 12 years in school. This replaces the current system, which has 10 plus 2 system. At the secondary stage, multidisciplinary study, greater critical thinking, flexibility, and choice of subjects will be given to students. At the middle stage, experiential learning in the sciences, mathematics, arts, social sciences, and humanities will be followed. At the preparatory stage, play, discovery, and activity-based and interactive classroom learning will be accessible. At the foundational stage, multi-level play, activity-based learning will be introduced. Now we will throw light on early childhood care and education framework. National Curricular and Pedagogical Framework for Early Childhood Education will be drafted by NCERT. Research and best practices will be introduced in the new education system in ECCE framework. NCPF ECE will be aligned with the latest research on ECCE, and national and international best practices will be taken care of. It will be a multifaceted framework comprising of alphabets, languages, numbers, counting, colors, shapes, indoor and outdoor play, puzzles and logical thinking, problem solving, drawing, painting and other visual art, craft, drama and puppetry, music and movement. School preparation module will be introduced, whereby a 3-month play-based school preparation module for all grade 1 students will be developed by NCERT. Early childhood education learning in the formative years will be aimed at developing curiosity, developing logical thinking and problem-solving skills, engaging in arts, crafts, and music. Children will be brought close to nature, will be taught colors, shapes, alphabets, and numbers. Teamwork and collaboration will be promoted. Play-based and discovery-based learning will flourish. Ethics will be taught. Stress will be laid on self-identity. Teachers will work on etiquette, behavior, and emotional development of children. Attainment of foundational literacy and numeracy by grade 3 in mission mode. National book promotion policy will be formulated and public and school libraries will be expanded. National mission will stress on foundational literacy and numeracy. Acquisition of foundational learning skills will be made universal. Focus on early reading, writing, and mathematics will be there. There will be 3-month play-based school preparation module for all grade 1 students. National repository will be formed. High quality teaching and learning resources will be available on Diksha portal. School libraries, including digital libraries, will be leveraged. Curriculum will be reduced. Curriculum in all the subjects will be reduced to its core essentials. Teachers will focus on critical thinking, inquiry, discovery, discussion and analysis-based teaching and learning methods for holistic development of children. Classes will become more interactive. They will reduce dependency on textbook learning. Questions from students will be promoted. Experiential learning will be the basis of all education. Fun, creative, collaborative, and exploratory activities will be done in classroom for experiential learning and deeper student learning. Curriculum and pedagogy will be transformed by 2022 to promote skill-based learning and minimize rote-based learning. Revision of NCF for school education and NCF for teacher education, 2009 by 2021. In the NAP, focus will be on learning objectives, competencies, and subject integration. Modules will be prepared and implemented on pedagogical plans based on competency and outcome-based education for school leaders. Integration of subjects will be done through arts integrated, sports integrated, ICT integrated, and storytelling-based pedagogy, among others as standard pedagogy. Schools will work upon development of scientific temper and inculcation of knowledge and practice of human and constitution values such as patriotism, sacrifice, nonviolence, truth, honesty, peace, etc. There will be no hard separation between curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular activities, academic and vocational activities, science and humanities, sports, art, and academics. Emphasis will be laid on digital literacy, coding, and computational thinking, ethical, and moral reasoning. states will be promoted to enter into bilateral agreements with nearby states to hire language teachers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. One request, Sudha ma'am. I would request if we can take 1 more minute to conclude. It's
Yeah.
already 14 minutes.
Yeah. So this is a long document whereby quite a number of things have come up, whereby, happy classrooms and inclusive classrooms and lot more is coming up for our children. Teachers will be prepared well now, and there are things which have been changed now, and we will be having a much better education system after a period of 34 long years. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudha ma'am. You explained the part of this document in a very simple way to all of us, and absolutely I agree with you. When we started organizing these talks, so we also had a doubt like why we need to create this kind of platform. Who would be coming, like a lot of talks are being organized everywhere. So do we really need these kind of interactions? But after receiving more than 10,000 questions, after receiving interacting with more than 10,000 participants during these sessions, we realized that more and more awareness still is needed. Even during our last talk, that was 113 talk, one of the educator also shared that that we need to create more and more awareness on this national education policy. Even we received a lot of questions about that 3-language formula, about those this new age system. A lot of people have their doubts, so you explain this document, at least some part of this document, for all of us. Thank you, Sudha ma'am. I'll be coming back to you with questions.
And even CBSE, it has been proactive now, and the same session has been conducted. The same slideshow has been conducted, has been shown by different people, just to repeat the session, just to make the people aware of things.
I'll try to take the credit. I'll try to take the credit of those CBSE's workshop, because we have been submitting weekly basis report with Dr. Saha and other people in CBSE, and unjokingly say that CBSE also say that like whatever we have been doing 114 sessions, so absolutely more and more organizations need to come forward. I believe that we have received so many questions when we see that principal or a school leader have absolute clear-cut idea about the policy, but we receive some basic questions from the teachers of their respective school. So I believe more and more interaction is also needed between the school leaders and their respective teachers. So big thanks for explaining this to us. I'll be coming back to you with questions. Now with this, I would invite Vishakha ma'am. Ma'am, if we can have your ideas, your thoughts.
Yeah, hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening once again. So as I had mentioned that NEP is a very progressive and a revolutionary document. I had made that as an opening statement, and I would agree with Sudha ma'am when she says that the vision of the very equitable and vibrant to make a very part. I think that is the vital part of it. So there are certain guidelines which are given for various things, and as Sahani ma'am was saying that, and Sudha ma'am was saying that the emphasis has been upon the 5+3+3+4 pattern, and the syllabus has been reduced. So again, I take it as a very strong move, because rather than just giving something to a child where he, if I talk about in terms of eating, he eats and he vomits it on paper. Here now things are really going to work. Why is it that the number of research-based work it will increase the research-based work in the country, because now the children will not be doing rote learning. They'll be talking about concepts. They'll be talking about critical concepts. It will bring in more interactions. Now, when they'll be collaborating, they'll be exploring, they'll be learning, because as Sani ma'am spoke about artificial intelligence, the experiential learning will be involved, because there is more impetus on the computer literacy, the coding part of it. And with the doing away of the stream pattern which has been dissolved, a child can have a beautiful combination. For example, physics, economics, and art, physics, music, and painting. So they get to do what they love to do, and when we do something that we love to do, we excel in it better. So I think that is a very welcome move by the NEP. Also, teaching in the mother tongue and bilingual has been stressed upon, so that at the primary level especially, so that the diversity of the country, to know about the languages and the various events that happen all across the country. Introduction to vocational courses at the class 6 level is again something that has to be taken very, very cautiously, because we are talking about a vocation, but at the class 6 level. So teacher training has to be highlighted, as Dhirendra sir was saying, that there is a lot of stress on there is a lot of stress upon training, because say something what the NEP says, but more importantly, learn how to learn. Education thus must really and solve problems, how to be creative and multidisciplinary, how to innovate, adapt, and absorb new material in novel and the changing fields. So this is something that has been identified, that has been understood, and has been taken ahead by the NEP. Also, when I talk about the literacy and numeracy, I am talking about the of this situation is that there are so many children still in the country who do not know basic literacy and numeracy. And to bring everybody at a certain level is, I guess, here the stress is also on vocation, so that children don't just run towards engineering or medicine or those handful of known fields that we count on our fingertips. Other skills should be known. The other day I was attending another workshop, and it surprised me as an educator. I was not aware that in the present scenario there are 15,000 different fields, arenas available for our students in which they could take their profession ahead. 15,000 is a huge number. Now, do our students know about it? So this is one way that we could expose our students to such things. Now, it will talk about requirements which are on a day-to-day basis. Children will be learning skills. They will underpin the workforce participation, productivity, and impact the social and health outcomes. So with introduction of literacy and numeracy to these 5 crore children, I cannot have a very long-term goal saying what happens after 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. So short-term goals have to be designed, including that every student attains foundation is the target period by which this has to be attained. You know, the educationists would try to do that. The implementation plans will be made by the state governments and the union territory governments for attaining this, and to achieve it again by 2025. That's the deadline given. When I talk about the implementing, writing, speaking, counting, arithmetic, and mathematical thinking. Now, how will that happen? A robust and continuous formative assessment for tracking and learning will have to be set up. Now, again, all these things have to be designed, have to be planned, and put into implementation. So, continuously, I'm repeating this, in fact, that this is an intent document. This is not a document which is how this intent will be put into action. Now, again, it would mean the redesigning of teachers' education, developing a national repository of high-quality resources will be made available on the Diksha portal. Now, the Diksha portal will provide, and it has already started doing it. There are so many, there's so much of material available on the Diksha portal. So work has already started on it. Introducing children to peer tutoring, development of enjoyable and inspirational books, and even setting up of digital libraries for for a better reach, because there'll be some children who may not be able to have access to purchase of books. So the government is talking about digitization, but again here we coming to school, the parents will be sending these children to school because they're getting that midday meal. So that midday meal has to happen on time, has to be of good quality, and also that these children learn eat and develop. So this was my take and my submission on the literacy and numeracy section of what the government plans to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vishakha ma'am, for sharing the key highlights and those key points for us, which is going to bring that desired change, from the NEP. You talked about those are an important part. You also talked about the digital library system. In the end, I would be putting this, this part, this question to you all, and I would request if we can have your comments in that part. We are talking about digital education. We are talking about more, positive, integration of digital education into our formal education system. But are we are we talking about that just 20% of students, are we going to have those kind of solutions, and how we are going to have those kind of solutions where we can take that digital education to the last the last student at the queue. So I'll be coming back with you all with that question. Thank you, Vishakha ma'am. I'll be coming back to you for questions. Now I would request Manisha Soniji, if we can have your perspective.
Very good evening to all the eminent speakers, educators. As the query that you had regarding this online and digital education, new circumstances and reality required new initiatives. The recent rise in epidemics and pandemic necessitates that we are ready with alternative modes of quality education whenever and wherever tradition and in-person modes of education are not possible. Like we all have seen that the current pandemic situation, we have seen we were not